Okay, so really quickly, I sent you guys an announcement. If you're in more than one of my classes, you got this announcement more than once. If you didn't get it, that's okay. It's just I want to talk about it right now. But it was this announcement right here. So they are trying to put out a catalog of student work so they're doing this, so they're putting out multiple catalogs, so it's not like you're going to be lumped in with another group. You won't be. This is for photography only. So what I know for sure they're doing is that this is happening in the School of Visual Arts. They're doing catalog for photography only, they're doing one for illustration only, and they're doing one for fine arts, the fine art part of the SVA program only. So you guys are not competing with anything. This isn't a competition to begin with, but I'm just saying that this is going to be, again, they're looking for work. They want to show work. They are only asking for work from juniors and current juniors and seniors. So it's kind of like as you're getting ready to graduate. They hope to have these things printed and then on hand by the time that Manifest rolls around. Actually, they're looking to do it. They want it a little bit before that for any of the student admitted days and that kind of stuff. They want to have these things available for that. But these are also things that, again, that your work will actually be in and that you can point to and all that kind of stuff, whatever. So anyway, they've made a call for images for this, and that is what this is all about. So I just want to reiterate really quickly what this is. So it's going to be an 8x10 catalog. It's only going to be work juniors and seniors. They are going to ask for alumni because, again, some of your classmates, whatever, actually graduated in December. So technically now they are alumni, but I think they want to consider the people who graduated this last December in this pool. So if you're interested in participating in this, I want you to submit 3 to 5 images. I have got this hard drive right here. I'm going to pass it around. If you've got the work right now formatted correctly and all of that kind of stuff, I want you to go ahead and put it on this hard drive. If you take a look at the hard drive itself, I'm going to show it to you really quickly. Again, all the specs are in this announcement, so if you haven't done this yet and you still are interested, I can still take your images. I can get your images from you. You can either send them to me. We can figure out a way to get them to me. I need them by Tuesday of next week, so that's going to kind of be the cutoff point. So at any rate, the hard drive I'm passing around looks like this. It's this Verser 1TB, and there is a thing on here. It'll be the very top if you have this by alphabetical order. Photography Catalog Spring 2025 Dropbox. You can just throw your stuff in there, put it in a folder and throw it in there. But again, if you do not have your stuff formatted like this first, do not give me your stuff today. You need to look at this stuff and you need to plan on getting it into this format. I'm going to show you how to do this right now. So are there any questions about this part? Yes.
Oh, like for the cropping of the images, does that matter at all?
Yeah, oh, it does. You should have your final crop.
Oh, yeah, I meant like that, but like more does it, like, since it's going to be 8.5 by 10.
Again, I think they're probably going to do multiple images on a page and some sort of layout. I don't really know how they're doing all of this part. That part's sort of out of my hands. But they should have a profound respect for the way you see your image being cropped. And so even though no magazine editor in the entire world will have that same respect, trust me on that, they should. So at any rate, to make sure that your images are done correctly, you pause the recording and answer the phone. Okay, so then back to the recording again. Okay, so what I was going to say is, again, these are the specs, the way they want this thing formatted. So I'm just going to show you how to do this part really quickly. So I've got an image that's open up into Photoshop. The first thing is you have to flatten your image. They do not want, because they want you to save this in a TIFF format, which would allow you to do layers. They don't want layers, and you shouldn't let them have layers, because if inadvertently one of them gets turned off and that's what my image ends up being, I'm going to be really angry in that. So anyway, just make sure you flatten your file. So again, edit menu, the flat menu next to layers, just flatten your image. Then they want so this is image, I'm going to say this has already been cropped. This is exactly the way I want it, the height and width and all that kind of stuff. So to resize your image to the size that they are asking for, you come up to the image menu and you come down to image size. You need to then click on this drop-down menu. A lot of you will have this in inches. Just click on this drop-down menu and go to pixels. Make sure that this resampled is checked because we are going to, again, resize these. So, and then in this drop-down menu, you can either leave this as automatic, or in my case, I just leave this as automatic. It'll actually be the simplest. You don't need to worry about resolution anymore. Then you just take the smallest dimension, and the smallest dimension in this case would be the width of this image. It's the shortest, not smallest, the shortest dimension. So, and you just type in 1500. And then hit OK. It will respect the ratio. So now this has actually been recropped to the size that they're actually looking for. And then you would come up here to the file menu and you would do a save as. And in the save as, again, if you refer to the way that this is written out, what they want you to use, the naming convention should be your image number. And there's no spaces in any of this. Don't ask me why, but this is how they've asked for it. Image number, last name, first name, underscore, the title of your work, and then the extension. So in my case, this would be 01 Engelhard, Verser, underscore, untitled, and then that's it. The extension will be this dot. In this case, it's a PSD. They are asking you to do it in a TIFF format, not Photoshop, not JPEG, not PSD, not PDF, not PNG, none of those. TIFF is the only thing that they want you to use on this. You should make sure that this embedded color profile is checked. Actually, if I were you guys, yeah, anyway, they can change this part, don't worry about it. And then in this case, you would hit save. So I'm gonna come down here, put it into this Dropbox, and then that's where I would hit save. It's gonna ask you if you wanna do compression, you do not, and then that's it. And so then this would be the very first one that I would actually be submitting. It would look like this. Are there questions about this? We good? Okay, so I'm going to pass this hard drive around right now. If you've got your stuff, please put it in there. If you don't have anything, but you're interested in doing this, again, you've got till Tuesday to get this stuff to me. But I'm here tomorrow in the morning. I am here on Tuesday afternoon in the 623 building in room 917 if you want to get them to me in person. Other than that, you need to get them to me via Smash Transfer. I'm going to show you that really quickly. So if you go online, do a new page, it's the title for the website is From Smash. You could do it just to search for Smash Transfer, but you can, you can see this is, I use this all the time. It's a web transfer service up to 2 gigabytes. Mother. Okay, so are there any questions about any of this? So guys, this is a really good chance. This is a good opportunity to get your work out there. And again, sort of all of this is really moving towards Manifest, which is a celebration of you guys, your work and graduating. So I'm just going to send it around. If you have the stuff, great. Again, please don't, this is so simple to do. And anyway, you should do it. Okay. So that, any questions? We're all good on this, right? All right. It'll be on the video again if you need to actually see this part. Okay. There have been changes to our class that I just want to make. Nobody down here has any? Anybody over here? Wow, you guys. I'm sorry, what? Okay. All right. No, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Why? I feel like I really said, Smash Transfer. So anyway, Smash Transfer, this is who I want you to use. You can send this up to 2 gigabytes. Again, given the size that they're giving you, you're not going to get to 2 gigabytes if you've actually saved this stuff correctly. So it's free. So only do the free part. Don't do the pro part. You don't have to pay for this. If you send me something via WeTransfer, which is another transfer service, I will take it, but I will be angry at you. If you send me something via Dropbox, I will hunt you down and fucking kill your dog or your cat or your pet hamster or something. I will make you pay. The same thing if you do this on a Google Drive or a OneDrive, I will kill something of yours. Again, they're a nightmare. They're like, you got to, oh, yeah, I need permission. Can I have permission? Yeah, I got to send you permission. Then you send me permission that I asked for your permission. And it was just like, and then I've got 20 of you fucking doing this. And that's just in this class. I got another 20 in 2 other classes. So I got 60 people and the permissions are just flying wildly. Then I'm really angry, right? So don't do that. Okay. Any questions about that? Wow, we're just burning this down. Okay. We're actually going to do something today. So the plan for today is this. We are going to start out in color managed workflow. That's basically what we're going to do today. But I'm hoping to get this all wrapped up before, certainly, I'm hopefully going to try and get this wrapped up really quickly. We are going to do custom profiles today. We're going to make them in class. All of this is going to be part of your assignments. But what I'm really hoping to do is to get you in the studio to finish. You have one shooting assignment from today that's very simple and quick. I'm going to show it to you here in just a second. And then to get caught up on the assignments from last week that most people didn't get to. If you got all the assignments of last week done, did anybody get the high-speed stuff done? Oh, so if you got the high-speed stuff done, great. Then what you're going to do is actually do your own camera custom profiles. You can start working on that in class today. So it won't be a waste. So for those of you who've already done this stuff, you guys will be fine. You'll be ahead of the game. For those of you who haven't, what I want to do is although I take that back, those of you who've already done the assignments from last week, you still have the shooting assignment from this week due, but it goes really fast. So you can spend the rest of your time working on your own custom profiles. So the reason I ask you to bring your own cameras today is that I want you to have custom profiles of your sensor. That part really matters, and we're going to take a look at that and see why that all is. We're going to create profiles for both Photoshop and Capture One. Unfortunately, they're not the same. And there you go. Are we good on this part? So I'm going to blow through this pretty quick. We're not going to take a break really quick, because then once we get through all of this stuff, then everybody's up and then working. I've already had them pull out enough gear. I'm really trying to get you guys caught up in all of this stuff. So that's the game plan here. Okay. We good? All right. So we're going to start here first in its most abbreviated form. Color management at its simplest. So I've really dropped down I've taken this lecture. It used to be 60 slides long. It's now 3. So at any rate, what I want to start off with is the problem that we have with color management. And the problem we have with color management is that every single device in the world, every camera, every computer, every printer, as a matter of fact, every eyeball in your head, everything, whatever, sees color slightly differently. And for us to have color managed workflow, we need to eliminate that difference. So what I'm going to show you is a workflow that is set up in a way that it removes what we would call that device bias. So your camera has a device bias. So your camera sees color slightly differently than my camera sees it, and my camera sees slightly different than someone else's camera sees. So we're trying to eliminate that difference. The same thing happens. It doesn't only happen with your camera, it happens with a monitor, and it happens with a printer as well. But the way we remove that device bias is the same process for all of them. Now, the software can be a little bit different for some of them. The approach can be a little bit different for some of them. But the goal in this is always the same. It's going to be exactly the same for all of them. So in this case, I'm starting out with a file that's got defined by its color of 255 red, 148 green, and 21 blue. If we actually take a look at that in Photoshop, this is what the color actually would be. So I said 255 for the red, right? And what did I say for those other values? I'm sorry, what? Oh, that would be a mistake. 255, and then 148 for the green, and then 21 for the blue. And you can see that the color that I've got here right now is exactly that same color. So it's this color right here. So anyway, that's what my file is asking for. So this is the color that the file wants. My monitor, though, in an uncalibrated state, shows it this. It shows you that the red is 255, so it agrees on the red. But then all of a sudden here, it's showing you a green of 248 and a blue of 53. So clearly they're not the same color. And this happens all the time. How many people in this room religiously calibrate their monitors? There's one person in here who's actually can believe the color in their monitor, and that is it. Well, there's two, because I do it as well. It just, say what?
I did mine a few weeks ago.
Okay, so, and that'll be a question that comes up, how often should you do this? And my answer to all of that is that every 2 weeks to a month is fine for general work, but if you're going in to do color critical work, you want to do it right before you do that color critical work. You don't need a calibrated monitor to do word processing or, buy shit on Amazon. But you certainly need it to do color critical work. You guys every single one of you goes in the studio here and starts shooting onto these monitors, and you believe the shit on these monitors. Their color is horrible, and they're way too fucking bright. And you're making judgments on your exposure based on a monitor that's 5-6 times brighter than it should be. How many people in here have struggling when they actually go to print something out? Their prints are always dark. Everyone, right? The reason is that your monitor is too bright. And your monitor is so bright, you go into Photoshop and you correct that too bright monitor by making your image darker, and then the image is not really the problem, it's the monitor. And then when you go to print it out, there's not a problem with the printer either, but it prints an image that's too dark because the monitor lied to you the whole time. So we need to get away from all of that. So it's color, all of that kind of stuff. We're going to do that today. And then finally, what ends up happening is that the way we build these correction tables is with a puck. Ours looks like this. I'm going to show it to you in just a second and how to use it. Or a color card. Everybody in here, is anybody in here not familiar with this? Everybody knows this, right? Okay, I don't sell these things, but I'm telling you right now, this is the single most important thing that you can own after a camera. So you might want to think about getting one of these. There are other companies that are making these now. So Spyder is actually making a version of this. It is not the same. The color order is different, so it will not work with the software that we use. So if you're going to do this, X-Rite is the company that makes it. There's now a company called Calibrate. It's actually just a spinoff from X-Rite. So at any rate, we'll talk about that. But you want to make sure you get this one. If you're unsure of which one you should buy, reach out to me and I will make sure that you get the correct one. Okay, but at any rate, so we use this guy, we use different things to actually do this whole process. But at any rate, so the software that actually builds these tables to correct for the bias of my monitor, what they do is it's a combination of software and hardware. And so the software puts up a color and it knows what color it is. And then the hardware actually measures the color. I'm going to show you one here in just a second. It measures the color, and when it measures the color, it says, okay, well, what's the difference between the two? And so here, if you take a look at the red and you go across, you can see that in this case here, the file asks for 255 red. The monitor is giving you 255, so the whole software puck thing realizes that, hey, there's no problem with that color. But then in the green, it says, okay, the file asked for 148. The monitor gave it a 248. We know that that's a problem. So whenever this is called for, whenever this color is called for this particular monitor, we're going to subtract 100 red. And then the same thing down in the blue. We realize that there's a mismatch right here. And so this is the correction for it. And then finally, if you do it all correctly, if you have the monitor plus the profile, then what you end up getting is that you'll see that your monitor values are identical to the file values, which is what you want. There is no longer device bias in this. That has now been eliminated. And this will be true for our monitors, for our cameras, and then ultimately for printers. Is everybody kind of clear and feeling this makes sense? Kind of this part works for me? Right? Okay, great. That's the end of the color lecture. For those of you who've been, oh wait, it's not, I lied. So this is basically the workflow of how this whole thing works. So first off, we have either a scanner profile or a camera profile. Again, you can do the same thing for scanners. If you are using an Amicon scanner or a flatbed scanner, you can do all of the same process. So the profile removes the bias of the camera, Then you bring it into Photoshop. Photoshop is a neutral space right here. This is also not just Photoshop. This would also be Lightroom, and this would also be Capture One. And if you are working in any other off-brands of RAW processors like DxO, that would be the same thing here. Bibble would be the same here. There's other places. This is a neutral space. It's a mathematical space. It doesn't really have any color bias to it because it's not a real device. But the advantage of this is that your monitor, which is a device that does have bias, you can have a profile that then corrects for this monitor. And then finally, profiles for any printer or any output that you would use. So not just printers, but film recorders, anything that would actually be an output model here. So every single one of these requires a unique profile. So the problem that we have right now is that in Adobe Photoshop, when you bring something into Camera Raw or in Lightroom, Photoshop actually gives you a generic profile for your camera. And that is the profile that's actually doing the correction. You don't want that. You want one that is specific to your camera model. The same thing with your monitor. There are generic profiles that exist for monitors, but they are worthless. You need one specific to your monitor. And this is not a monitor brand or a monitor model. This is the specific one. If you have two monitors that are identical in brand and model number and all that kind of stuff, you need a separate profile for both of them. They all have their own unique bias that we need to correct for. And then finally, the same thing in the printers. In the printers, it gets even more complicated because in the printers, you not only have to profile the printer, but you also have to profile the paper and the ink that goes along with that printer. So these things get hyper specific, but if you do this whole process, you will actually end up with a color managed workflow. The color from beginning to end will be consistent. You won't be guessing how many, I've said this to everybody, how many people in here do test strips or test prints when they're actually getting ready to go ahead and print something out? All of you, right? I haven't done a test print in 20 years. I send shit, like giant mural stuff. I send it in, they go test strip, and I was like, nope, I'm good. That's the goal. Are we good on this part? Okay, that was the end. Well, I'd say that's going to be the end of it. That was the end of it, sorry. Oh, no, one last thing. Sorry. See, I lied. Color temperature. How many people in this room have any idea what color temperature really is? How many don't? Okay, that's fine. So color temperature, it's based on, there was a guy named Kelvin who developed this idea, actually worked. So his idea was this, is that if you take, well, let's think of water as an example. So water is made up of a bunch of molecules that all bang into each other, right? And we're not getting into deep physics or science here today, guys. It's just molecule. You've heard the word molecule. I know you have. They just bang into each other. If you then actually put that water into a pot and put heat on it, what ends up is they bang into each other harder because they have more energy. And if you keep heating them up, they really start banging into each other a lot, whatever. You have a whole lot more energy, and eventually that banging causes them to actually expand into steam. And that's what you see when water boils, right? So we all know that part. The flip side of that is that if you put it in the freezer, you start to take the energy out of that. You remove heat and energy are exactly the same thing. You start removing heat from them, and as they start to get colder, those molecules slow down. And so what Kelvin did was that he said, well, you know, there comes a time where you've removed all the energy, and you can't get any colder because there is simply no energy left in it at all. That is 0 degrees Kelvin. He just made a scale, and it's 0 degrees Kelvin. If you then take what they call that thing at that cold of a temperature, theoretical black body, they actually have managed to get incredibly close to 0 degrees Kelvin, but that hasn't happened in the real world on the Earth yet. But at any rate, if you take that black body and you start to heat it up about 2,500 degrees Kelvin, it glows a warm yellow. And this would be roughly, if you actually go a little bit hotter than that, so about 2,800 degrees Kelvin, you have the color temperature. So it starts to glow, and it starts to glow orange. And so at that temperature, you have basically the color of an old school incandescent light bulb. If you go up another 400 degrees Kelvin to 3,200, that is the color temperature of all those hot lights that are sitting out there. Those are photo hot lights. Photo tungsten is slightly cooler than what we would call pedestrian or in-house tungsten. So that's this in sort of like this yellow warm range. So you guys have seen, so anyway, I'll get to, if you go to the top of Mount Everest on a cloudless day, in the middle of the day, you will end up with a color temperature around 9,500 degrees Kelvin. It's very blue because you have a blue sky that is reflecting onto all of that snow on the top of Mount Everest. And it's colored, it's extremely blue. Tragically, this is the color that Apple sends your laptop for Apple is actually designed. It's set by a factory. It's calibrated to be this 9,500 degrees Kelvin. It's incredibly blue. The reason they do that is that it tends to make your colors seem more contrasty and more saturated. And Lord knows every consumer in the world can't get more saturated, more contrasty shit. I know. I get to see all the stuff that you guys turn. No, I'm just kidding. You guys are you are a very educated group when it comes to looking at print and being sensitive to color and that kind of stuff. But oh my God. But anyway, that's the problem we've got. So this is very blue on this side. This is very orange on this side. These are complementary colors of one another. As you mix them together right around 6,500 degrees Kelvin, they neutralize out. So 65 degrees Kelvin, it's not either too blue nor too yellow. It's actually perfectly neutral. And the reason this matters to us is that this is what we're going to use to calibrate all of our monitors too. So in the old days, different monitors were calibrated to different color temperatures. That's not the case anymore. There are specific cases where people do not want a neutral color. So for instance, if you're in the print industry, a lot of people will set a monitor to be a little bit warmer because when you print out on especially magazine paper or newsprint, that kind of stuff, there's a lot of yellow in that paper. And so if they want to be matching, they will actually warm things up slightly so that it matches the paper that they're working on. But for our purposes, nobody does this. 6,500 degrees is the standard. And that's the thing that you need to keep in mind. Okay, I'm going to say that this is the last one, but I should have just said, no, this is not the last one, and then it would have been. All right, questions about any of this so far? Yes?
So like for the color cards, I heard from someone one time that you have to replace them like every once in a while. Like how is that true and how?
Oh yeah, and they'll actually tell you on it. They'll have, if you take a look at the front of mine, there's a thing right on here that tells you put in the date where you bought this thing. So usually you want to replace these things every 3 years. I mean, they last pretty well. If you take care of them and you keep them closed up like this, and they don't see a whole lot of light, and you don't have people who are putting their hands all over it, which is the worst thing that can happen, because then you get your oil of your hands all over it, and it fucks them all up, whatever. Anyway, if you're pretty good about this, you can probably stretch that out a little bit longer. I don't do mine every 3 years. This one's about 3 or 4 years old, 5 years old, something in there. So it's time for a new one, though. But anyway, yes?
For calibrating your screens, I get that that's the calculator, but if you wanted to reset for your printer, is it just a software?
So if you want to do the one for your printer, you end up coming to me. They in the media center here, they actually have the piece of hardware that you need to actually do printer profiles. What it means is, or what'll happen is, and I'm more than happy. As a matter of fact, I will shoot me an email. I will bring in and show you the whole process to calibrate for a printer. But basically, what it is that you print out a series of prints that have like hundreds, if not thousands, of color patches on them, and you use this specialized piece of hardware to read the patches. But the process is the same. The file is asking for this color. Your printer prints out this thing, and then you use this hardware to actually measure the difference between what the color that was asked for is and what the printer actually printed. And then again, it develops a table to nullify or to zero out that bias. Right? Okay. Okay, really quickly, I want to show you, everybody has this software now. Again, I ask you guys to install this stuff. So I'm going to just show you really quickly how to do a monitor profile. Even though I said we wouldn't take a break, we'll take a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll jump back at this all. So let me free up a few resources here. Okay, so The two pieces of software that you need that I asked you to actually install, and again, if you didn't get them or you haven't installed them, that kind of stuff, you're going to need to before you do this work. I'm going to point them out to you again really fast. As a matter of fact, they're on this. It'll be easier to find. And again, I can give them to you right now if you don't have them, whatever reason. So this was something that 2 weeks ago, I asked everybody to actually download these. So in the I apparently threw away. Yeah, of course. Hang on one second. It was these two files. There was two for Windows people. There was two for Macintosh. So for the Windows, for the Mac people, it's these two. It's the first one was this Calibrate Profiler 1.3.3 DMG, and then also this color checker camera calibration. So the software that you use to actually do your monitor is this Calibrate Profiler, and the one that you use to do the sensor for your camera is this color checker camera calibration. We will go through both of these. I want to do the monitor one first, and then we will actually, like I say, take a break, come back and do a DNG and an ICC profile. I'll show you your homework, or what you're supposed to do for your homework, and then I'll let you in the studio. Okay, so this is going to be off to the races. Did everybody get this software, or does anybody still need it?
I think I need color checker.
Okay, so to do the monitor profiler, which is the first one I'm going to do here really quickly, is you need to get this thing from either the Media Center or the studio. There are two versions of this. There's an older version and a newer version. I'm fairly certain everybody in this, the newer version will work for everyone. The older version will not work for anybody who has a Apple Silicon Mac. A lot of people who are working on the latest, greatest Windows machines. So you want to make sure, again, if you go to the studio here, you want, or either the Media Center or the studio here, just ask them for the new one. The new one comes in this green pouch, and it's got Calibrate written on it, to make sure that you even are certain, more so that you know what it's really supposed to be. It will actually have this thing on it that says Display Pro HL, and again, the company is Calibrate. So this is the same as, I will show you mine, because I still use an older version, but you have to use older software for it, which is a pain in the ass. But this is mine. This was the original that was made by a company called X-Rite. Again, it looks exactly the same as the other one. The name on it's a little bit different and that kind of stuff, but it's the same, format, as it were. X-Rite sold off, or it didn't sell off, it just split this division off, so that the Calibrate and color work for X-Rite is a completely different division than this Calibrate right now. So anyway, just make sure that you get the newest one. Ask them, say, I don't want the old one, I want the new one. You already have the correct software for it. Really smart trick to doing this is that you want to plug this thing in before you launch the software. If you launch the software and then plug this in the older version, you won't get any error message or warning until the very end when you go to save the profile, and then all of a sudden you'll get this error message and it'll say can't do it. So just plug this in before you launch the software. So I'm going to plug this in. I'm going to go back and forth between this a little bit. So I'm going to launch this software now. So again, in the Macintosh world, it's called this Calibrate Profiler. I don't know if Windows, it's the exact same name, but it's the software that I asked you to install. If you double click on it, this thing will open up. And it's really intuitive software. It's going to work you through all of this part. It's got pretty specific instructions. And again, all of this will be on the video that's recording right now. So application failed to launch. Of course it did. So display settings are extended. Oh, the reason this is what's causing me a problem here is what you guys are seeing on this screen right here. It doesn't like the fact that I'm actually doing a projector here. So it says that it's your display settings are set to extended display. You start the software. You can set to duplicate monitor once the profiling is complete. If this is not a problem, restart your computer. Okay, so I am going to, how do I get around this? Well, this is what it's asking me to do, so we'll do it. And as long as I'm in here, there's a couple of settings in here that you need to know and you need to deal with to begin with right off the bat. So the first is going to be in displays. This is where the problem is that it's seeing, because what's happening here, guys, is that you can see I have two setups going here. I've got my display, but I've also got this projector. And so what this software is saying is it doesn't know which one of these I want to actually work with. So it's saying I shouldn't be doing my extended display part. So I think I can sit here. Yeah, this is, yeah, I'm going to have to unplug the screen here. So I'm going to walk you through, everybody will be able to come around here and in the back of this and look to see how I do this. But it'll also be recorded in the video, so you'll be able to rewatch it on the video as well. But as long as we're in here to actually get through this part so that we can do this a little bit quicker, the first thing is that on your display, and this happens in Windows as well, I've got a whole PDF on our website about what you need to do this process with Windows. But the first thing is that if you've got a Macintosh, and you should disable this stuff anyway, just as a matter of course. So if you've got a Macintosh, you need to go to System, up to the Apple menu, down to System Settings. If you've got an older machine, this will be actually called System Preferences. You'll let this thing open up, and the first thing you want to come to is Displays, and in Displays you want to uncheck this automatically adjust brightness. What this is designed to do is that depending on the level, it uses the camera in your computer, depending on your light level in the room, it either makes your computer darker or brighter. That defeats the whole purpose of a profile. You also want to turn off this true tone. What this does is it actually changes the color of your display so that if you are in a situation where like you've got, let's say that these fluorescents in here would be daylight balanced, and then you were to go to a room where you had tungsten lights that would be tungsten balanced, it'll actually change the color. Again, that completely defeats the whole purpose of this. And then finally, you got this true tone, and this true tone, what this does is if you have it turned on, it'll actually, as you move into the evening hours, it looks at the clock on your computer. As you move into the evening hours, it starts to warm your screen up because typically most people work just with computer monitors and not a whole bunch of other lights on, and most computers are already too blue. So what this does also is to change the color of your screen to make it easier on your eyes. You don't want any of that happening in a colored profile situation. As a matter of fact, you don't want any of this ever on your computer. This is another thing that Apple did for absolutely, well, they did it for people who, I don't know, never mind. Anyway, not for you guys. You're way above that. So you think you'd be done, you're not. Then you want to go to the accessibility on your settings here. Find display up at the top. And in display, two things that you want to do. The first one is that you want to click on this reduce transparency. Apple has this thing where it reduces the sort of appearance of their windows so you can vaguely see what's underneath them. Well, if we go to do this profile stuff and it's kicking up all these colors to measure, you don't want whatever screen's underneath that to come through that because that will pervert the color. So you click on this reduce transparency, then coming down you want to make sure that display is set to normal and you never move that. If you move that, you will really fuck up your computer. And then that's all we need to do at this stage of the game right here. So once you've done all of that, then you can come out of here. You can unplug the screen, the projector, and then if you want to, everybody stand up and kind of walk here behind me so that you can sort of see what's going on. I've got this camera on that's right here that's also sort of monitoring this whole situation, so just to sort of see what's going on. We're going to hope this works now. Again, I'm going to double click on this calibrate. And hopefully it's going to be happier now. And it is. So when this happens, the first thing that's going to come up, and you can see it would have allowed me to do the projector, but there's something it didn't like about that. But I'm going to do my monitor. In this drop-down menu right here, I actually put this on advanced, not on basic. If you do it on basic, you'll be fine. But if you click on this advanced, you're going to get some options to set up at the top which matter. So we want that. Then you'll also notice down here that the device is set to this Calibrate Display Pro HL, which is exactly what is. This is the one that I showed you. It's picked all of this automatically except for the advanced version of this. It's not going to let me hit advanced version, so we'll see what's happened. I think I can get to them anyway, so we'll just keep moving on. I'm going to click next. And in the next, yeah, I've got the advanced versions. It's going to pick the color LCD. That's what my screen is right here. Do not screw with this. There's very special reasons that people pick other things for this, but they have nothing to do with us. So you're going to leave this at its default. It will know what technology your screen is actually using. And then the presets here, you can go ahead and pick photo, but we're going to change some of those things. So photo is the first one. You can go ahead and leave it at photo. But then here along the very top, what photo does is it decides what all of these things up here are going to actually be. I'm just going to show you one of them. So far, we've already picked the calibrate, this model of calibrator. That's already been picked. I already told you to leave this white LED exactly where it is. This color, see this, what they're calling here is this. You'll notice that it is D65 is selected. That stands for, CEI is the color consortium, the color group that developed all of this color managed workflow, ICC profiles, all of that kind of stuff. It all comes out of the work that these people did. It's set to D65. That stands for daylight 6,500 degrees Kelvin. That's exactly what we were looking at on that Kelvin chart. And I said right there in the middle, that's what you want to set it to. So this part's fine. You can leave it at that. Then going on the next ones over here, this is one thing that I would change. The default on this is to actually do the brightness, because this is going to set the brightness of your monitor. Set the brightness at, this is set to be 120 candelas per squared meter. You don't need to actually think about that too much, but it's right down here. I actually do mine a little bit brighter. I prefer to do mine as 140. It matches the bigger monitor that I have in my house. This is the default a lot of people use. 140 is not going to be that radically different, but if we click on this and click on custom, we can change that 120 to 140. This is the one that I prefer. You should use one of those two. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on next. And then you can leave the rest of this. Don't touch anything else here. The native contrast is fine. We're not going to customize this. This gamma is a correction that's used for, again, monitors. Everyone in the world uses this standard 2.2 gamma correction. It's the contrast correction of your monitor. It's something that you don't see. Leave it at its default and you'll be fine. Simply click on the next button again, and this part will actually come up. And ambient light we want to leave off. So again, this is the same thing that we turned off in the settings that we used for in the settings that we used in the Apple control panel or the Apple settings menu. We leaving that off. We're not going to do flare correct on here, chromatic aberration, ICC profile version. All of this you can leave it at its default. You're good to go. Next one down here. This is the number of patches that are going to be thrown at us. right? It's going to, how many patches do you want to then measure to build your profile? You have three options. You've got 118, which is what I'm going to use just because it's the fastest. You could do 211, or you could do 461. The more patches you use, the more precise your profile will be. Go ahead and take the time to do it. But if you're in a real rush, go ahead and use the 118. That's what I'm going to use. Does that make sense, everyone? Questions about this? Are we good on this part? Okay, fine. Then I'm going to go ahead and hit next again. And then it's just going to say start measurement on this. And I'm going to say, okay, click on start measurement. And then this is going to pop up and it'll say, what do you actually want to change on this computer manually? The only thing that you should have checked here is brightness. You don't have the controls to change RGB or contrast, and you don't want to, but you do want this thing to control brightness. So I'm going to leave this check mark by brightness. I'm going to click to say continue. And it's going to say over here on the right-hand side, okay, take this hardware piece of thing, and you can see if you look at the little illustrations, there's a protective guard on the front of this. You pull the protective guard away from the body. Actually, here, I should be showing this to you on our other screen. So I'm going to, it says to take this thing, pull this away from the body to loosen this up so that you can then spin this thing around and then close it up again. And if we go, and it'll reveal, this is the glass lens that it reveals that we're going to use. Then when we go to use this, you're going to, this is a counterweight for it. You can see this will slide along the cord here, because what you're going to ultimately do is put this on your screen so that it rests in the middle of your screen, and that counterweight is on the backside to hold it in place. Make sense? You also want to leave your computer tilted back because that keeps pressure on this. If your computer is tilted forward, the puck is not sitting on the screen and it will not work. So this whole thing tilts back. It goes like that. So I'm going to go back now to the software part, and we should be good to go. And it knows, again, I've got now this my check mark on here saying, yes, you've done that. It's also telling you on the right side over here, just what I did to push your screen back. Set this so that that puck is right in the middle of the target. You might want to clean your screen first. If your screen is not too dirty, just use a microfiber cloth on it. If yours is filthy, what you do is, again, hang on one second.
I have a question real quick.
Shoot.
Does it matter if you have like a screen protector on your laptop?
It doesn't matter if you have a screen protector, but you would want that to be clean as well, right? So I'm going to go back really quickly to show you if you do need to clean a screen, how you do it correctly. So let's go back to this. So if you do need to clean your screen, what you want to do is shut your computer, you can leave that down, completely off, shut it down completely. Then you want to take a mixture of half alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, vodka will also work if you're in a pinch for this. You want to mix it with warm water 50-50. Then you want to take your, let's just imagine that this is a microfiber cloth. You want to dip just a little corner in it for the corner part. Then you take your screen that has been turned off. You lay it down like this so that the screen is flat. Then you take your microfiber cloth that is barely damp, and you start working in the center, and you work your way out to the edges to spread that liquid out. Again, you don't need a whole lot of liquid to actually do this part, but you need to be really careful about as you get to these edges that you don't want to fuck with those edges. You don't want any of this solution to get in because it'll fry your computer. You don't want that to happen. Anyway, once that's all done and your screen is clean, then again, you put your puck back on it. This will probably be lined up when I go back to the software. Almost. And then hit next. So the first thing it's going to do is actually measure your brightness. And you can see my value right down here. My target is 140, but my illuminance value, my measured white luminance value is 560. That's almost 3 times brighter than it should be. And every single one of you is doing this. Every one of you starts it. So a trick that I've found that you should do here, because again, neither Apple nor Windows has a way to really define how you set your brightness going forward. We're going to get a measurement right now, but it gets to be really, so I'm going to show you my trick about how you can then get back to, so later on you can change your brightness, but you know where you need to go back to actually have your profile when you're actually doing your serious critical or tonal work. Make sense? right, so I'm going to start with my brightness slider. It's all the way up right now, and I'm going to click down to go one down, and you can see my value is remeasured automatically. It changes this now to 408. So that was one click. 2 clicks gets me down to 321. 3 clicks. Sorry, that didn't look like that went down. So I'm starting all the way back up again, make sure I'm not screwing this up. 1 down gives me 408. 2 down gives me 291. 3 down gives me 207. 4 down gives me 146. I am really close here. So 5 down would actually take me down to 101. It's way too dark. So I'm going to go back up. So now I'm only 4 down. If you're a real nut about this shit, I would stay here. This is so close. I would just stay here. It's 146. But if you're really crazed about this, on Macintosh, if you hold down your Option and Shift key, you get incremental drop downs. It's not a whole one, but you've got to remember this. So right now I am 4 full clicks down. Now I'm going to hold down my Shift and Option key and do one of those clicks down, and that gets me down to 135. Now I don't think 135, again, 146 is 4 over, 135 is 5 under. That's as close as I can get. I'm going to go right back up again. It's just easier for me to remember. So 4 clicks down. So brightest I can have, minus 4 clicks is the brightness that my profile is going to be built on and what you should use whenever you're doing color critical work. This allows you to then not have to, if you need your computer brighter, let's say you're out in the sun and you need it brighter to read something, go ahead and do that. Just as long as you know when it comes time to do your color work that you need to drop it down 4 clicks. Make a note of it, put it on your phone, put a little post-it note on your computer just so you know. Does that make sense, everyone? The brightness is critical to this. So at any rate, this is good enough. I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And so it's going to start this measurement process. And you can see what's happening is that there's a color that's coming up on here. The software knows what this color is. The puck now is actually measuring what my monitor is really giving it. So it's saying, yeah, I want a pure red. And the monitor, and this puck is measuring and saying, is that a pure red? Probably not. And then it's going to build a table that then when I employ the table on this monitor will make all those corrections. Are we good on this part? Okay, when you do this, you also want to have your computer plugged in, because the last thing in the world you want to have happen is your computer to go to sleep in the middle of this. Because if it goes to sleep in the middle of this, you've got to start all over again. Are we good on this part? Okay, I have got, let's call it 25 after, hard 10. Be back at 25 till, or 35 after. And I'm going to wait for this to finish. And then you guys, so you don't have to wait for it all, but now would be a good time to take advantage of that.
When we get to work out in the studio, would you mind showing me the assignments?
Showing you what?
What the assignment is, because I was out last week.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna try to get to it all.
Okay, cool.
You're not gonna be able to do the first one. You and I can do that at some other point, but hopefully do the rest.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have a chance to look at the negative I sent you?
Oh, I did have a chance to look at it.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to fix it.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. No. I got in the middle of it. Remove tool, that kind of stuff is not gonna. Again, he's not gonna be happy with the way that looks, because you end up with artifacts on because especially the sky part.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I haven't hit it with artificial intelligence yet, which is what I really think might work. So yeah, if we get another chance to take a break at some point here, whatever, I'll open it up again and see if we get a chance. But yeah, I ran out of time.
Because he tried to clean it like in the darkroom, like washing the film.
Yeah.
But it didn't work. So
Wow.
yeah. But he shot it in the 70s.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and like it was stored in like this like paper sleeves, and like they were old.
So not glassine?
No.
Oh, well, he should
Yeah.
know better.
Well, it was when he was like what, 18? He didn't know better at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's one of his favorite pictures.
I'm going to see. We'll do everything we can to see. Well,
Yeah.
again, I mean, we'll see. There's a couple of other tricks. For me, or just knowing Paul, a lot of this depends on how comfortable he is with actually fundamentally changing his image in post.
Yeah.
Because it will, but it's the same sort of strategies that you use to take wrinkles out of seamless and that kind of stuff. We can try all of those. So basically there's areas of the sky that are still intact, that haven't been corrupted. And basically what we need is that to be the texture of the entire sky. But we can't scale it up because otherwise the grain is going to get bigger as well. So you really need to replace the damaged areas with what you would call the good areas. But that's serious processing, and I mean, for me, I wouldn't think about it. For him, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll try.
Yeah.
It's on my list.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
First,
Yes.
I'm trying to check out the calibrator. I'm not sure if I need the newer or older version.
You need the newer.
Okay.
Well, wait. Yeah, the software I gave you, because the newer one will work on everybody.
Yeah.
The older one will not work, and depending on. Let me see where your computer is. Oh no, you need the newer one.
Okay.
The older one won't even work on this.
Okay.
You're okay. Yeah. Oh.
Skype is shutting down.
What?
Skype is shutting down.
You're kidding. Wow. Zoom isn't doing that well either. I'm surprised
You know
that.
what's funny? I was in the student center, and what's it called? I was in the student center, and I was like, dang, like I'm so tired. I was like looking at the photos that I was using, and I was like, I really want to do it. Guys, like I can go for a sausage now, but I'm like, let me get one like before class, cause you know how the thing there is on the left.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me just get one after class. Tell me why. 10 minutes later, this guy comes up to me. He's like, excuse me, and then he just put a Red Bull on the table. I'm like, somebody hurt me. I can't believe my parents are answering. I was like, right at the perfect moment. Could you not? He was just like, hey, he put it on the table. He's like, do you want a free Red Bull? And I was like, yes.
They have them here too.
Oh, yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's cool.
The only thing is
Well,
que
it's like
estos
7
no
a.m.
te los puedes llevar a la casa. Just the ones that you go. Yeah. Like it in first. No, no, I think it's like
Okay, we're back. Ooh, and I think I recorded all of that 10 minutes in between, but I will go in and I can't believe you got, do you know how much I love you people? I actually edit my videos for you all. I know, right? I used to never do any of that shit. It was like, God, you want to learn this? You suffer through it. I don't want to go. I mean, I do enough to get this out there to begin with. Anyway, I think that's the case. Yep, that's the case. So, but at least I'm good now here. I'm somewhat lucky, and then it's like right at the hour mark. So I can go back and hopefully, yeah. All right, never mind. Okay, so anyway, back to this. So this is where we landed. So you can say it says, please remove your device from the display and replace the diffuser. So you don't need to see me do that. You're just undoing what we started in the beginning. And then hit next. Take a look at this screen right here. Oh, I can put you back on now. I hope. This is when my whole computer just goes, uh-huh. You thought. You lose. If you take a look at each one of these patches, the top half is the color that was asked for. The bottom half was the color that was measured. And look at how wildly different this is. The reds are actually reasonably good. They're not too far off until you get into the deeper ones. But oh my God, look at this. Look at these purples right in here. This is the color that the file wants. This is what my monitor is showing me. You can't work like this, guys. You can't. So at any rate, I'm gonna hit next again.
Are those colors like since the last time calibrated them on?
No, this goes back to its default.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not. No, actually mine are really close. I can show you the difference in both of those. So once you do this, to actually save this thing, it's going to offer you to save it using this name. You don't want to use this name. You want this to be far more specific. So I'm going to name mine MacBook Pro MVP _. Always put your initials in so that you know this is one that you did. And then again, I've already done one of these today just to test drive this. I don't, even though this is I'm going to blow this naming convention out a little bit more, just because most people, it says 25. Do you know if this was the 25th, or if this was the 28th of February in 2025? Or is this the 25th of February in 2028? Now we haven't hit 2028 yet, but you see the problem, right? So I'm just going to add the 2025 to that, and then I'll know exactly what this is. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So again, I need everybody to come back here, because when I actually do the before and after here on the profile, you can't see it on this monitor, on the projector, because it's not on the projector, it's actually on my screen. So you have to look at the screen to see this actually happen. So once I'm done all of that part here, you can say you want to validate it or remeasure or do any of that kind of stuff. It's done its work. I'm just going to quit this. And then I'm going to go to my Finder, and I'm going to go up to my System Settings. And then in Displays, right here, in this drop-down menu right here, this is the one that we just made. You can see it's this 2025. This is the one that we just made. This color LCD at the very top, this is what Apple ships with. So watch my screen when I click this. This is what Apple thinks you should be looking at. And this is what we just calibrated. How the fuck do you do this? It's just, you cannot work on a computer that is not calibrated. You just can't. And then the brightness, whole issue here. I mean, again, this is where you guys are at, and where it should be is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where I should be. Questions about this? Are we good? Okay, everybody back to their seat really quickly. I'm going to try to get through this ICC DNG profile and ICC profile both. Oh, wait a second though. For the Windows people, really quickly, I just want to point something out. In the resources that we have for session number 5, how you actually do, this is color calibration. This is the software, this is the software, this is how we do this. Hang on one second. I'm going to add something to this that I don't have here, which is odd. Hang on one second. I'm going to add the PDF for how Windows people actually go about. So with the Windows people, the way you make the profile is identical. That doesn't change. But if you're on a Windows machine, your Windows, every single time it restarts, it's going to default to its original profile. Macintosh does not do that. You need to go in to change a setting in the Windows settings. It's incredibly challenging to get to that place, but there's a way, a whole PDF I've got about where you need to get to actually have your calibration stick, and that part matters. So, okay, so also in here you'll see this color software checker ICC workflow right here. This is going to be something, again, we have assignments now about all of this, so I want to show you the assignments really quick. I need everybody to, well, you can either look at just take a look at the screen really quickly. So let me go back to this. So today we are going to do this assignment right here, 3 lighting scenarios with perfect exposure, named correctly with metadata. This is what we're going to start with as soon as we finish doing the rest of this. Your homework assignment is to create 1 DNG camera profile for your camera sensor and also 1 ICC profile for your camera sensor. Then you can use these for the rest of your life as long as you have the same camera. Profile and calibrate your monitor. This you're going to have to do on your own, although if you've already done the assignments here and we have time today, you can just check out the color calibrator monitor here and you can actually knock this out today. You've got the software to do it. In this assignment here in the beginning, we'll give you, all you need to do is come over onto my set after I show you how to do this, and you can shoot a color card with your camera, and so you will have the file that you need to build these custom sensor profiles. So, yes?
Can you check out the calibrator in person without having to do it online?
I'm sorry, can you do what?
Can you check out the calibrator from the page in person?
Yes, you can. You can't check it. The one here you have to use here, but the one at the media center, they let you take it home for 2 or 3 days. So you guys all know where the media center is, right? Okay. Okay, so if we take a look at this first one to create a DNG profile, we are going to do a DNG profile with one that I have already given you so that we're all working on the same one. So we're going to go through this whole process together. There is a video that I recorded of this process that's right here. If you can't remember this stuff or you're somehow whatever, you can just watch this video and go through it. So when you're doing this for yourself, and the DNG I want you to submit here for yourself is your custom one, not the one that we build right now together. Does that make sense, everybody? Are we good on this part? Okay. So hopefully everybody brought their laptop. Open it up and fire up this software. So for the people who are on Macintosh, The software that you're going to open is this color checker camera calibration, and I think it's the same name for Windows. Now I think they've agreed on them to be the same. If you double click on that, it will simply open up. And I'm going to go through this relatively fast, only because there's a video of it. We're going to have this video that you're seeing right now as well. You'll see when this thing opens up, it gives you this warning and saying, so have you, calibration of your display is essential. If you haven't done it in the last 30 days, you need to do it now or whatever. I'm going to say, okay, thanks for the reminder. I'm going to get rid of that. So in this case now, you'll see at the very top of this screen, so does everybody have this software open? Okay, for all the stuff Adobe, you have to use DNG profiles. For all the stuff Capture One, you have to use ICC profiles. So we're going to start with the DNG one right here. Do not do dual illuminant right now. What dual illuminant allows you to do, it allows you to take an image underneath tungsten light and also another one under daylight. You plug both of these in here, it averages them together and then gives you the profile that's sort of in the middle. In my case, I'm a big believer in doing DNG profiles for every single shooting with a camera and a lighting situation. Much like you do paper and ink for a printer, you would actually do, the lighting for your camera will change. That being said, if you have a sensor, any profile that you have done of your sensor for your camera, no matter what your lighting situation is, if you do not have a color card in that lighting situation and you're not able to actually use, to build a a new profile for that camera plus lighting situation, you are still better off on using any sensor profile that was built based on your camera. So the way I tell people this is that sensors and cameras are biased regardless. So if it's too sensitive to red, it's too sensitive to red. It doesn't necessarily, it matters a little bit whether you're in tungsten light or daylight, but not as much as you might think. So the sensor profile by itself will get you 90% of the way there. If you want to be 100%, you have got to do one that also incorporates whatever lighting it is you're doing. Now, when I say lighting changes, I'll go into the studio and I'll set up a lighting setup and I'll shoot it for a week or two. As long as I don't change my lighting, I only need one profile for that entire week, 2 weeks. But if I change my lighting, if I have a head that actually goes out and I have to replace it, that is a change in color. Make sense? So it's just a question of how precise you want to be. But at the very least, you want one for your sensor because you guys will see the difference that'll be here. So we're going to start with the DNG. It means we need to do a DNG file. So if you look at the folder that I gave you to copy, that folder inside of it has it should have a folder in there that says DNG custom profile example files. Do you guys see that inside? I want you to open that up, and inside of that, you should have a single CR2 file. You may have another file, like I've got a DNG in mine. I'm going to throw it away right now. But the only thing I care about in there is that single CR2 file. Do you have something else in there? Yeah. So if you've got the single CR2 file I want you to pick is this one right here. It's the 20110917. The other one you can throw away. As a matter of fact, you can throw away all the other stuff. There's another raw file in there, and then there's also an XMP file in there. You don't need any of that. So if you then take your DNG file, if it's designed by double-clicking to open in Photoshop, great. If it's not, simply click and drag that onto Photoshop in your dock. However you get it, you need to launch that file into Camera Raw in Photoshop. That's where we need to start. And it should look like this. Girl outdoors in a purple sweater. Does everybody have this open yet? Anybody not? Okay. So really quickly, we just need to make a DNG of this. And the easiest way to do that, if you take a look at your upper right-hand screen, there is a square with a little arrow pointing down in it. If you click on that, a dialog box will open up, and if you've never changed anything in here, all you need to do is hit save. What it's going to do is it's going to create a DNG copy of your file, and it's going to put it in the same place that this current file is. So just hit save. There's a little progress bar that goes down along the lower left hand of your screen. It's already done. Now you can simply hit cancel. It's done its job. All we wanted it to do was to build this DNG file. So if you go back into that same folder that I gave you in the DNG custom profile example files, you should have a CR2 file and a DNG both in there right now. Does everybody have that? Anybody not? Okay, this DNG file, we need to drag and drop it onto the software that's open, the camera color checker profile. If you can't, if you got 1,000 screens open and you can't drag and drop, you can always come up to the file menu and just hit add image and then navigate to that. But the easier way to do it is to simply drag this guy on top of your folder right here, and you should be good to go. So in most cases, this has an auto align feature in it that will actually find the card that's the color card. So again, it's a picture that we shot with this color card inside of it. And in my case, it did find it. If yours can't find it for some reason, you can use the tools that are on the right edge of this to zoom in and to zoom out and to move stuff around. By default, the first icon at the very top of the right-hand side is selected. And if you come over, for instance, and you see there's 4 little corners, 4 little green dots on the corners, this allows you to move this whole color pattern around. What this color pattern is to do, or what this grid is doing, it's looking for the patches of your color card. Now, you just want to make sure that this is centered directly in the center of your of all the color patches that are on the card. You don't need to worry about whether how the card is oriented, whether it's vertical, horizontal, whether it's spun upside down, right side up. None of that matters. The software will understand this. It's just what you don't want is this. If you've got this pulled out to the side like this will corrupt your screen. It'll corrupt your profile. Or even worse, if you've got it set like this, sometimes auto gives you this kind of thing. That will not result in a usable profile. So you just need to check this before you actually hit the go button on this. Sorry. All right, this looks pretty good to me. Before we hit create profile, I actually want to copy the name of the shooting. So if we go back here, this is the name of my shooting. We've talked about naming convention in this class, have we not? Right? So again, it starts with year, month, day, underscore, client, underscore, keyword, underscore. In my case, I've got an 01. That's the shot number 1 out of 10 shots we did that day. So, and then a frame number. I don't care about that part. What I do care about is this naming convention right here, because again, I want to create this profile for the camera that shot this picture. So if I create a profile and use its name, there is no question about this profile was meant for this shooting. So I'm simply going to drag across that part of that name and copy it. I just copied it to my clipboard. I do that, guys, because I am dyslexic, and the idea that I'm going to retype this number correctly in another screen when it says save this as is slim to non-existent. So I'm not going to do that. I've just copied the name. That's all that matters. Then I can go back into the software and simply hit create profile in the lower right-hand corner. So it's going to say, okay, we're going to create this profile and this is what we're going to call it. And I'm going to say, no, even though this was a Canon EOS 5D Mark II that shot it, I want it to have the name of that shooting, the one that again, I use the naming convention for. Now, depending on your software, a lot of times, if you just hit, you'll notice there is no edit menu. There is but in both Windows and Macintosh, Command V will actually do a paste. And in newer software, this actually puts the name in. In older versions of this software, it doesn't. So if you have, I'm going to hit undo really quickly. If you don't have this, what you can always do is, however you get a drop-down menu. If you're on Windows, it is a right-click. If you're on Macintosh, it's a control-click. You will get a drop-down menu, and you just come down and say paste, and it will put that name in for you. This is where it's actually going to put it on a Macintosh. I've given you the folder hierarchy of where these are for both Windows and for Mac. You don't need to go get this thing, so I'm just saying you're going to have to go get the ICC profile, but you're not going to have to get this one. So anyway, but this is where it gets placed. It's in your user library under application support, Adobe Camera Raw, camera profiles. It's going to put it into that group. Now I've got a 3,000 of these in here, so I'm going to actually do my version 3001 of this, and then just hit save. And it says it's been created successfully, and you need to restart your programs before this thing can be used. Just say okay to that, and then you can quit this program. It's done everything you wanted it to do. You can also throw away the DNG. This is important. You want to get rid of this DNG. If you turn this one into me, it is the wrong one. So go back to this example, throw this DNG away, and then again, launch your CR2 file. So once you launch your CR2 file, has everybody got this thing back open again? Am I waiting on anyone? Okay, shout out if I am. Anyway, to use this profile, if you look underneath the histogram under this, my screen looks a little bit different than yours. I've got color in my basic panel. You probably have color. The latest version of Photoshop is really fucking with my computer, so I've downgraded. But at any rate, to use this profile, if you look up here at the profile, there's a drop-down menu for this, but this is harder to get to. If you look at the little icon that's to the right of it, it's this, it looks like three little squares and a magnifying glass. That's how you browse for profiles. Click on that. This is the same in Windows as it is in Macintosh. Scroll down. You're not looking. These are all ones that Adobe has built for us, neutral, portrait, all that stuff. You're coming down here to this profile group. If you click this open, inside this group, you will actually find the profile that you just made. Now, I don't want you to click on that profile. I just want you to hover over it. I'm looking for my version 3000. It's going to be right down here. So don't click on it yet, but just look what happens if you hover, don't hover over it, and then come over the thumbnail, and then come back off of it, and then back on. Look at the difference in the file. Look at the difference in that sweater. Are you kidding me? This is getting rid of the bias of my camera. If I zoom in and take a look at my color card, look what happens. When I hover over this thing, you can see that the blues get considerably darker. Look at this blue right in here, and this sort of like lighter bluish in here. Look at how much darker they get. What that's telling me is that my camera sensor is too sensitive to blue. And so for me, using this custom profile now, I actually eliminate that problem. I get rid of the bias of my sensor. Would you ever know to do this? It's not just color, it's also saturation. Look at how much more saturated that purple sweater is than when it's not. I mean, this is, again, guys, how do you do this kind of work if you are this far off? And it's not your fault, it's the camera manufacturer's fault, but there you go. Make sense? So go ahead and click on this. That will actually build the profile into this. And then your last move is to make a DNG of this. So again, you can go ahead and go up to the little square at the very top that's got the arrow in it. Click on it. And we're going to just save it again as another DNG. The little progress bar goes on the bottom. You can hit done now. You don't need to save this part. And now if you actually look, you will have a DNG in here. This is what you will turn in, because this DNG has now got an embedded version of this profile in it. Does that make sense to everyone what's going on? So that's assignment 5-2. Next thing we're going to do really quickly is you're going to, does everybody in here have Capture One on their computer? If you don't, there's a computer there that has it on there. If not, you're just going to have to watch this video and do this at another time. But if you've got Capture One already loaded on it, we need to make the ICC profile, but we need to start that process in Capture One. Again, if you take a look at our website, this was the process for making the DNG profile was 5.2. If we go now to 5.3, In this one, it's going to be create a custom ICC profile. And again, you're now using Capture One, the color checker card, the same calibration software that we used, and then this is the workflow. If you click on this PDF, it will open up this workflow, and you simply follow this workflow. We start in Capture One, and so I'm going to show you how to do that whole part, and then we will be done with this part of it. I'll show you the shooting assignment, and you will be on your own. So this is just a way you're going to set things up into Capture One. We're going to go through that right now. So to start this process, we are going to start in Capture One. And for me, I can actually quit my Photoshop because I am running out of resources. You can also quit Photoshop as well. You don't need to use it. The ICC profile that we are building, you cannot use in Photoshop, but it's the thing that you have to use in Capture One. So anyway, so we're going to start a new session in Capture One, but this also gives me a way to talk about starting up Capture One in the very beginning. Most, but not all of you have turned in your Capture One certificate. If you haven't done that, please finish that up. It's not that, so 11 or 12 out of all of you have already done this. Can I just get a vote? How challenging or difficult was this? Yeah, it's not going to kill you to do this, right? So if you're freaking out thinking, there's no way I'm going to get this done, whatever, that's not true. Every single person in here can get this done. So please go ahead and do it, because it's not only important that you learn that stuff, but guys, it gives you this certificate that you can, I can't begin to tell you how important and critical that certificate is. All right, I'm going to hit cancel out of this when this new thing opens up. I just want to start from scratch in here. And this is how we start the whole process in Capture One. So if you don't have a screen showing, like I don't have a screen showing, I'm going to actually come up here to window. I think I can get a main window up here. I really don't want to start a new session in here, so let me quit Capture One again just to walk you through it. Capture One reacts differently every time you open it up, what it's offering to open up for you, or how it's offering to open up something for you. So I'll just start it down at the bottom if this doesn't give me what I'm looking for. See, it gives me a thing right here, and I wanted to just say cancel. I don't want to open this session right here. I could click on new session right here, but I don't like doing that at this stage of the game. So I'm just going to cancel out of this, and instead I'm going to come up to my file menu up here and do new session. So sessions and catalogs. Again, a catalog is very similar to what you use in Lightroom. It's one catalog that holds all the files that you shoot for the rest of your life. I do not recommend using that. You certainly will never use that in a situation where you're working for different clients. Instead, we're going to do a new session, and a dialog box will open up, and we have a chance to name this. So for us today, and I want you to name it using the same naming, because this is what you're going to ultimately turn into me as the name of your ICC profile, 20250228 _, your initials, mine is VER _, and I'm going to do, let's see, C1PICC profile, or Pro F. Again, I can't have my keyword. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Too long. I'm just going to do it C1PICC. Make sure that you put this in your pictures folder. Again, any place but your desktop. You don't want it, and you certainly don't want it on a hard drive either. So I'm going to go in my pictures folder. It's a safe place for it. Go ahead and say choose. Again, you would not open this in a new window. Simply say OK to that. And then immediately, guys, I can't tell you this any different. Go to your tether capture icon at the very top. Come down to capture naming right here, next capture naming. Click on the 3 little dots that are next to this. You'll see there's 2 tokens in here. There's name and then camera counter. You do not want to use your camera counter for this. You're going to get rid, so if you click on those little 3 dots, it'll open this up. You can now type directly into the format at the top. You're going to delete the camera counter. You're going to put in an _, and then you're going to grab this 1-digit counter token and drag it up to the top. click on the drop-down menu and go to a 3-digit counter. This is then a preview of what your file is going to be named like. It's running right along here, and you're going to say OK to that. Then we are going to import the file that we need to actually do this work with. So if you click on the import button up at the very top in the left-hand corner, then you need to navigate to that folder that I actually gave you, the one that has the DNG example parts in it. So again, I'm going to click on this drop-down menu and just say I want to choose where this is coming from. And then I'm going to navigate to my DNG profile example files, and I'm looking for that very same CR2 file, the one with the girl in the woods with the card in front of her. So again, this is in the folder that we just saved that DNG in, we put all of that stuff in there. Just click on Review for Import. It'll be the only image that comes up. Click on Pick All at the very bottom, and then Import All. And you should now have a copy of this image inside your Capture folder. And if you click on it, you should see it. So this is now inside of Capture 1. Is everybody good on this part so far? We good?
Actually, sorry, I got lost once after the naming.
Okay, fine. Go back to just come up to your import. And you're going to then choose where you want it from. And you're going to go to that folder that has the DNG files, example files in it. So where did you put the stuff that I gave you 2 weeks ago?
In my
Fine, then just go there.
Oh wait, no.
It's right where you just were, right where we saved those DNGs, right where you found that CR2 file.
Oh wait, no.
No, that's not what you're looking for at all. These are your assignments that you turned in for your other class. That's not where you want to be. It's where were we just earlier?
In profiles?
No, the thing that we were just using, the DNG profile that we just made, that we just loaded into that software to make the DNG profile. Where's all that?
In profiles.
Well, click and then type in profiles.
You don't have this folder. This one, system visual class list.
Yeah.
Do a
it's
search
just
for
not in
do a
the-
search for example files. That's where they are. That's the CR2. Click on it. Click on Review for, and it's already been imported, and you are good to go.
Okay.
Okay. So there is a special settings that we need to do for this, but most of you guys don't know where this part's at, so we need to add it. So there is a file. Again, this right now has got its own DNG profile that's assigned by phase 1. We need to change that. So the easiest place to do this, you can do it here in the tethered capture. I wouldn't do it in the library, but if you come up to your tether captured icon at the very top, if you hold down the Control key, or again, if you're on Windows, it's a right click, but in Macintosh, Control click, you'll get a drop-down menu, and you want to add a tool to this, and you're going to add base characteristics. And when you do that, it'll pop up usually in the middle of your image right here. This is where it is. And you can see the ICC profile that Phase assigned for this is a Canon EOS 5D Mark II Pro Standard. That's what's going to actually be in here. We need to get rid of this part. So to get rid of this part, you're going to click on this drop-down menu. If you only see this one profile down at the very bottom, you should have a way that it says See Other or See More. So again, mine shows everything in here, so I don't know what yours are actually showing. Do you get this full drop-down menu? Anybody not? Yeah, then click on Show All and then go right back to that menu and you'll have the whole drop-down set. Are we good? So usually when you come to this thing the first time, you may just get this EOS 5D Mark II and a generic and a Pro Standard. Anyway, you won't get a lot. But if you, at the very bottom, usually it'll say something like Show All or Show More or something. Click on that once and then let go and then come right back into this thing a second time and you'll have all of these profiles. So you want to come down to this one that says effects, and then over here to no color correction. Again, we are trying to strip out any color correction of this other than what the sensor of our camera did. The profile that we had in there was correcting for the deficiency of that sensor. Then if we were to do this work, it would only lay 2 layers of removing bias on top of each other, and it would ruin it. Then in this next part down here, in the curve on this, you want to click on that and say you want to leave this as a linear response. This is much closer to what your sensor actually shows, the way your image is truly captured. So has everybody got this part set up on here okay?
My capture one doesn't have a basic characteristics.
It does if you add it. Control click on tether. 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 Add tool. Base characteristics. Now you've got it right here and somewhere in the middle. Right there. Base characteristics.
Okay.
So click on your image because it doesn't show any until you click on it, and then click on the drop down menu. And then come down to show all. Show all. And then right back to it again, all the way down to effects. Keep going. Effects. No color correction. And click.
Okay.
How does that work for you?
I got the this part.
Yeah, so click on that drop down menu and come all the way down, keep going, to effects, over to no color. No color correction, and click, you're good. And then under the curve on this, change the curve from auto down to linear response. So again, auto down to linear response. And you should have a really washed out pale image, yes. I am, but where are you on that? Okay. And if you need to, let me know. We can meet or get whatever. Okay. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is we actually need to print a version or export a version of this out. So I don't like to use this version of export. Instead, I prefer to use the versions that are here on the toolbars. So if you click the little 3 dots on the bottom part right here, if you don't have this, you can actually add a tool tab, and we would add the export tool tab. So again, up at the very top, little 3 dots, click on this flyout menu down to add tool tab. If export is not available, it means you've already added it to it. You already have it there. But I'm going to click on add export. And then now if I click on the arrows that point to the side, I've got an export dialog box. And this will open up and give me export recipes. Does everyone have this? Okay, we need to create a new recipe. So I'm going to get rid of this one that I just created that's for this. To create a new recipe, click on the drop-down menu for Export Recipes. It's up at the very top. And then sort of down at the bottom of this first panel, we're going to click a plus, and we're going to do a new recipe, and you're going to name it. You'll see it saying untitled right now. We are going to name this TIFF. This is the only time you'll have to do this. TIFF. I'm going to do lowercase ICC profile. PRO. God. Yes. Profile. We need to do something. Profile generation. And say OK to that. Again, make sure that this thing is now selected, hit your enter key, and make sure it is highlighted in orange like this. And then we are going to actually do the recipe down here in the bottom. So the things that you care about the recipe here is we're not going to do a subfolder for this. In the location, it should be set by its standard default. We'll just have it export into the output folder of this session, which is fine. We don't need to worry about any of the rest of this. The naming part of this will actually be fine as well. And then coming down here. So in the export format and size, in the drop-down menu for the format, you want to pick TIFF. In the bit depth of it, you want to change it from 8-bit to 16-bit. And In the options, you want to leave this as uncompressed. And in the ICC profile, you want to change this from Adobe RGB to embedded camera profile, which is usually at the very top. So again, the only thing you need to change, we've named a new recipe. We're going to go down to the export format and size. You select TIFF is the format, 16-bit, the option uncompressed. The ICC profile for this is the embedded camera profile. Again, click on it, you'll get a flyout menu, go up to the very top, that's where it is. And then the rest of this is all exactly the way we want this to be. So then we can come back up underneath the recipe. If you've got any other check marks on these recipes, uncheck them, because otherwise it's going to make other output files for you. You only want this one to be output, and then click on export. That's now done. To find out where this file is, go back to your library, hover over click on the the output folder. Again, if you're on Windows, it's a right click. If you're on a Macintosh, it's a control click. Just click on this drop down, and you'll get a flyout menu, and you've got an option to say, show me this folder in the Finder. And you want to click on that, and it will take you to it. And the file that we just made is this one right here. It's this guy right here. Does that make sense to everybody what's going on here? Are we good on this part? Okay, this is the file that we're going to use now to generate the ICC profile to work with for this image. So to use this, we need to launch that camera software again. So I'm going to, yikes. I'm just going to do a new window here because I don't want to lose where this one is. And again, you're just going to open that same camera calibration software. So to your application folder, to the color checker camera calibration software, double click on that to open it up. It's going to give you that same warning again that you should be doing your monitor. In this case now, does everybody have this open? We good? Click on the ICC TIFF at the top, and it's going to say, okay, drag and drop a TIFF onto this guy. Well, we just made that TIFF right here, and so click on it and drag it up here on top of it, and hopefully it will load the image, and hopefully it'll find it again. It does find it again, and I'm also, again, going to copy the name off of this guy again. So, this is actually renamed my profile with the version. When I did that import, it renamed it. I don't want that rename. Remember, we copied this name before from the original one. So I have a clipboard that I can look at. I've still got this 2010. You want the original name of the shooting. You don't want a name of your of the session that you're currently using. We're going to use this other version right here. So I've still got that. If you need to get that, simply go back to the folder that you had that has the example files, the D&G example files in it, the ones that I gave you. So I'm going to take a look for mine really quickly here. Sorry, here. It's this CR2 right here. Again, the same one, the 2019, whatever. Simply select it and copy it again. So this way your D&G profile will have the same name as your ICC profile. I'm just going to copy that again. And then go back to the camera calibration software and hit Create Profile. And it's going to open up a window again, and I'm just going to hit Command V to paste this in. And you'll notice now it doesn't have a .dcp, which standard for D&G for digital camera D&G camera profile, which was Adobe World. This is now ICC World for using for Capture One. You'll also notice that the profiles where it's putting it here is not in that camera support, not in that application support camera, whatever. This is just color ICC profiles. This is system-wide for your computer. And with the correct name, you're just going to hit Save. If you're on Windows, thank you for bringing that up. If you're on Windows, it's not ICC, it's ICM. It's the same exact thing. As a matter of fact, I think you can even misname them, and I think they'll still find each other. I think you can do an ICM on, because the structure of the files are identical. And I plan to have this all done in 10 minutes, including that set, which will give you guys a little over an hour, or about an hour, to do whatever we can do. You'll get at least the homework assignment for 5.2 done. Okay, it says it has been saved. Go ahead and say okay, in my case. Are you guys good? Did it do it? You guys have all really fast computers. I've got the 5-year, 6-year-old guy. It's the old fucker. All right, anyway, I'm going to hit quit on this. Now we're going to use it. So if you come back into Capture One, again, what we did here for this image right here is we changed its base profile. We got rid of that. We changed its linear response. We changed a number of things in this. I want to just reset this file. So the easiest way to reset this file is if you look at the very top of your workplace, your screen, there is a reset button up here, but you'll see mine's not active. And the reason it isn't active is because I haven't selected the thumbnail. Click on the thumbnail. This will now become active, and you can click on reset. It's still not resetting here, or it's still not available for me to reset here. Oh, because this is the output file that I'm using. This is the TIFF that I made. There is no resetting the TIFF. Click on your capture folder, then click on the CR2 file. This is what we need to reset. And then there is a reset button up at the very top. Now the one at the very top is global reset, which is what we want to use. So I'm going to click on global reset. It resets everything. So if you look again at your base characteristics now, you'll notice that it's put back in that pro standard one and the auto. This is where we need to change things. So back in your base characteristics, again, that's in the tethered group, click on your drop-down menu here, and now we can actually find the profile that we just made for this guy. So I'm going to come down to the bottom, and I'm going to click on Other, and you'll actually see, and that's opened up. Hang on one second. Create the ICC profile, restart. Oh, you need to restart Capture One. Sorry. Quit Capture One and restart it. Again, it doesn't know that profile. We've added a profile now, and it doesn't know about it. So I'm going to click on quit and then restart it. Click on the CR2 file in your capture folder, click on this drop-down menu here for your ICC profile in the base characteristics, and come down to Other, and it's sitting right here. And again, you can do this over and back. So hover over it, uncover it, and back over, and back out, and back over. Tell me you can do that. I mean, look at how radical this change is, guys. This is the difference you get in doing custom work. Did that work?
No, when I logged back in, it just deleted everything. So this is what I had before we started.
That's got nothing to do with this.
I know, but I exited out and then I went.
And this is also a catalog. This is not a session. So if you come up here to this drop-down menu right here, it should have this session right here, which is what you were working on. And say, not now. You don't care about doing catalogs, and there you go. So then now you just need to, did you do a restart?
Yeah.
Okay, so then go to your tethered, base characteristics, click on this drop-down menu, come down to Other, and that's the profile you just made. Hover over it and back. See any change?
Yeah, Jurassic.
Are you guys kidding me? Are we good on this part?
Yes.
Okay. One last thing to show you really quickly. So I am going to unplug this screen. Can you hand me that when I get all the way over there? I'm going to unplug this. Yes, so one assignment is turning in the D&G profile you made for Adobe. The other assignment, the next one, they're two separate assignments, is to turn in that ICC profile. So, but you've made this for my file. I want you to do this for your cameras. So you're turning in the ones that you make for your cameras, not the ones that you just finished.
The ICC profile, don't have them like go back and then resave it. The profile, like,
I'm sorry, what?
like with the how the PNGs, and you have to go back and like resave the PNG with the profile. There's no having to do that design.
So well, again, it would be the same thing, but there's no way to embed this into anything. So you would just have to copy the profile out into the number. If you want to do it on another machine, you would copy the profile, or you have to make it again on the other machine. No, but that's why I'm not having people turn something in. This isn't as specific as doing the work in reprinting was. But yeah. Okay, great, thanks. Okay, so guys, you're going to come over here. Well, you should see this on the screen. Well, no, so it says it's in there. So did you restart Capture One? Try again. Yeah. Yeah, I'll give it to you, yeah. Let me get through this part really quick. Okay, I need everybody, well, you can see this on my screen right here. And I'm going to see if I can't capture directly to this as well. Okay, I'm in Capture One right now. I'm on my set right here. So I need everybody to, actually it's gonna be better if you guys come over here and take a look at this part over here. I'm gonna go to my Zoom so that you can see the overview. I'm gonna yell a little bit. So, people don't know how to use these color cards correctly. Now we've already talked about when you're using this color card right here. Yep. That what we're trying to do when we use this to expose for here is that we shoot a color card, we're shooting tethered, and so I'm looking to actually have white balance first on the little gray patch that's right next to the red one. That gives me neutral color. And then at the proper exposure, this white patch should read what? 245 to 250, right? Again, it's near white, but pure white would be 255. It would have no detail in it. This thing is real. It's got detail in it. That's why we put it in that 245 to 250 range. It's as close to getting to white, but still having detail in it. Make sense? So that's what's going on in here. So those two events give me perfect color and perfect exposure, correct? In addition to all these profile things that are going on. However, what I want to talk about now is how we actually use this card and set it up in our situation to actually, in effect, meter. So I've got a meter right here. So if you can see my setup roughly right here, just to show everybody. Basically, I've just got I've got an umbrella that's over the top of my camera. Ooh. And it's focusing on shooting this figure straight on. So to be perfectly honest with you, this is really the setup right here. So you can see this camera right here is pointing straight at that. The umbrella is right over the top of this. So if I were to meter this thing out, I would bring my light meter right here. And I would set it like this, and how do I point this light meter correctly? What do I point this at? Do I point it at my camera? I point it at the light. That's what I'm trying to meter, right? So if the light is here, it is right here. My camera's right underneath it, so I'm pointing it at the same thing, right? But that's going to change. If I move this light all the way over here, side light, do I then point it at my camera, or do I point it at the light?
The light.
Exactly. So if I'm going to plug it here, I'm going to do a meter reading here, and it gives me F11, and I know this meter's a full stop off. But anyway, then I'm going to shoot a picture of this. Simple, right? So we will go into capture one, knock off a frame. What's that? Works every time. You think I am messing with you. I'm telling you right now, this is CYA.
I'll be right back.
You bet. So then I'm going to do exactly what I said. I'm going to grab my white balance tool. I'm going to hold down the space bar, double click on the hand, come in really quickly, click on that patch to color balance, and I'm reading the value right here, and it reads 246 in the luminosity. Is that correct?
Yes.
It is. Eureka. Okay. Now I'm going to change things up. I'm not going to do all three exposures because you guys will hopefully catch on to this just by doing one. I'm going to now move my light source. I'm not going to do it here. I'm actually going to do it here. Complete side light. So again, so that everyone can see. Yeah, you can see it right now, and you can even see it on the video recording on the side light. So again, if I come in here to do a meter reading, do I do that?
No.
That is a complete mistake, right? I've pointed at my camera. This is actually reading 568. But the truth of it is, if I've got my exposure here, I meter this thing pointing straight at the light source, right? So I click on this and fire it again. This is telling me 8.5, which is a little bit down from where I was earlier there. Just bring it in a little bit here and see if it's again. Close enough. But the point being is that, how do I shoot my card now? So I'm going to go back to capture one and shoot the card. What's this? At the very least, you'll appear like you have some sense of humor. Well, that's easy to read that card off of that, isn't it? No problem. I'm not sure I can color white balance there, whatever, but I'm going to look on the side of it, and it's reading 26. I really need to amp up the exposure here, right, to get that. So again, you can clearly see that this is a mistake. This is not how you do it. Instead, what you do is you take your camera off the tripod, in this case, monopod. And you orient it the same way that you would when we shot it. You come here under this. This card then has to come around here. And it doesn't even matter if you have your figure in here. All you care about is the card. And then if I go back into capture one, white balance, read the value on my card. 245. This is the perfect exposure. So now I know my exposure is correct, but now I can come back in and shoot it the way I want to shoot it. Again, this shouldn't be, lighting should never drive your composition. But this is set correctly now to meter the exposure for that side light. And so again, some people do this, they'll actually leave the card like this. There's no point. You cannot ever have, you can't do a card reading like that. You have always got to reorient yourself so that you are coming straight on, following the same line as the light. Does that make sense? So your assignment is to do 3 exposures. 1 over the top of your camera like this. 1 3/4 of the way this way, or halfway between a full side light. So kind of a side light, Rembrandt light, right? And then a full side light. And to set that card the correct way it's supposed to be, and the correct exposure with files that are named correctly. Does that make sense? That's what the homework assignment for this coming week is. You can do it right now. Actually, it's not this coming week. It's right now in class. So there's all that gear out there. I need you guys to do that, this thing right here first. If you have time, you've got the gear out there to do the 2 missing assignments most of you are missing. The high-speed cameras are out there. The high-speed sync things are out there. You can do them all in this same set. For all of you rest of you who do not have, who've done all of this shit, all you need to do is get your camera and come right here. Shoot an exposure of this card so that you have a working copy of this card to do the profiling of your sensor for your own camera. If you're out on set out there, you can do the same thing. Take your camera. Once you get the proper exposure of this, make an image of that for your own camera so that you have the working CR2 or whatever your, if you're Sony ARW, Nikon NEF, whatever your raw file is, to build the profiles, both the DNG and the ICC profile that's going to be due next week.
Should we work out your team?
Yes. Oh, and your teams. You should do the teams you were in Team 4, because Team 4s have already started this, right? And Liam, I don't know where that puts you, and I don't know if everyone's here today. So anyway, and you guys can split up in your own teams. If you need to attach onto somebody else, whatever. Because this reminds me, everybody should be turning in copies of their file. So you're on a team, you've got 2 people. You can't rely on me figuring out, oh well, you know, this person's this teammate. Everybody turns in, even though it's going to be the exact same files. Everybody turns in their own copy. Make sense? All right, get at it as quick as you can.
Did you check your activity list?
Can I do what? Yeah, I've got it right here.